She hasn't seen her feet in 4 years. The bedroom door was widened twice, then removed completely, because there was no other way to get her out if something went wrong. Diane Carter is 38 years old, 587 pounds, and completely dependent on her teenage daughter for every basic human function. Bathing, medication, using the toilet. 3 days ago, her heart rate spiked to 142 while she was sleeping. Yesterday, Dr. Rashid told Maya over the phone that without immediate intervention, her mother has less than 2 years to live. But the surgery that could save her requires Diane to prove she can lose 60 pounds in 90 days, something she hasn't successfully done in over a decade. Maya stands in the kitchen now, staring at her mother's meal plan, at the college acceptance letter she's hidden in a drawer, at the phone number for the bariatric program that represents the last door that hasn't closed. If her mother fails this evaluation, there are no more options. If she passes, Maya will have to choose between saving her mother's life and starting her own. The apartment on 7th Street tells its story before anyone speaks. The living room has been converted into a bedroom because the actual bedroom is upstairs, and Diane Carter hasn't climbed stairs in 3 years. A hospital bed sits where a couch used to be, reinforced with extra support beams that the landlord installed after the first frame collapsed. The ceiling fan runs constantly, even in winter, because Diane's body generates heat that makes the room feel like summer regardless of the season. Maya Carter wakes at 6:15 every morning. She's 19, thin in a way that suggests meals are often forgotten, with dark circles under her eyes that make her look older than her mother in certain light. She moves through the apartment quietly, preparing her mother's first meal of the day according to the plan Dr. Rashid's office faxed over. 2 scrambled eggs, 1 slice of wheat toast, black coffee, no butter, no cheese, nothing that could derail the 90-day requirement that stands between her mother and surgical intervention. Diane is already awake when Maya enters. She's always awake. Sleep comes in fragments now, interrupted by pain in her joints, by the effort of breathing, by the constant awareness of her own body pressing down on itself. Her face shows remnants of the woman she was, good bone structure, expressive eyes, a smile that used to come easily. But her body has become a prison built 1 meal at a time, over 18 years. "Morning, baby," Diane says softly. Maya doesn't respond immediately. She sets the breakfast tray on the bedside table and helps her mother shift upward, arranging pillows behind her back. The process takes 7 minutes. Diane's breathing becomes labored halfway through. Maya has learned not to rush it, not to show impatience, not to reveal how much this routine is costing her. "Dr. Rashid's office called yesterday," Maya finally says. "They want you to come in next week for the baseline evaluation." Diane looks at the eggs, at the single slice of toast, at the absence of everything she's used food to accomplish for nearly 2 decades. "I know. You have to do this, Mum. I know. I'm serious. This is it. There's nothing else after this." Diane picks up the fork. Her hands are swollen, the fingers thick and stiff. Simple tasks require concentration. She takes a bite of eggs, chews slowly, swallows. "How's school?" Maya's jaw tightens. She hasn't been to her community college classes in 2 weeks. Her professors have sent warning emails. Her part-time job at the pharmacy let her go last month after too many missed shifts. The college acceptance letter from state, full scholarship, a chance to study nursing 3 hours away, is hidden in her underwear drawer like evidence of a crime she's planning to commit. "School's fine," Maya lies. "The apartment is small. 1 bedroom upstairs that Maya uses, the converted living room where Diane exists, a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people, a bathroom that required modification after Diane could no longer fit in the standard shower. The walls are thin. Maya can hear the neighbors' television, their arguments, their normal lives proceeding on schedule. There are photographs on the wall, arranged by Maya's grandmother before she died 4 years ago. Diane as a child, thin and serious. Diane at 16, pregnant with Maya, trying to smile for the camera. Diane at 22, holding a newborn Maya, already carrying extra weight, but still mobile, still capable. No photographs after that. The visual record ends the year Diane stopped leaving the house. "Your grandma used to make eggs like this," Diane says, still eating slowly. She'd put a little paprika on top, made them fancy. Maya knows what her mother is doing. She's trying to connect, to make this moment about something other than the 60 pounds that stand between survival and surrender. But Maya is exhausted. She's been exhausted since she was 14, since the day she came home from school and found her mother on the floor, unable to get up, crying not from pain but from shame. "Mum, we can't do the nostalgia thing right now. We have to focus." Diane nods, finishes the eggs, leaves half the toast. "All of it," Maya says. "I'm full." All of it. The silence that follows is familiar. It's the same silence that fills the apartment most days, heavy with everything they don't say to each other. Maya wants to scream that she got into state, that she has a chance to leave, that she's drowning here. Diane wants to tell her daughter she's sorry, that she knows what this is costing her, that food became a solution to a different problem and then became the problem itself. Neither of them speaks. Diane eats the rest of the toast. Maya collects the tray, carries it to the kitchen, washes the dishes. Through the doorway she can see her mother lying back, staring at the ceiling, breathing hard from the effort of eating breakfast. 587 pounds, 60 pounds to lose in 90 days, then surgery, then recovery. Then the real work begins, if any of it happens at all. Maya's phone buzzes. A text from her best friend, Jenna. "Party tonight. Please come. You need a break." She deletes it without responding. The ceiling fan continues its rotation. The morning light filters through curtains that haven't been opened in months. Somewhere in the building, someone is cooking bacon, and Maya watches her mother's face change as the smell reaches her, longing and resignation fighting for space in the same expression. This is day 1 of 90. The weight of silence settles over the apartment like dust. Diane Carter was 7 years old the first time someone left her behind. Her mother walked out on a Tuesday morning in March, leaving Diane and her younger brother with their father, a long-haul truck driver who was rarely home. There was no explanation, no forwarding address, no phone call that ever came. Just absence where a person used to be. Her father tried. He lasted 11 months before the state intervened. Diane remembers the social worker's perfume, too sweet, and the way she kept calling her honey, while explaining that she and her brother would be going to different homes. Foster care meant temporary. Temporary meant nothing stayed. She lived in 6 different houses between ages 8 and 16. Some families were kind, others were not. She learned early that being quiet, being small, being invisible was the safest strategy. But food was different. Food was the one thing that couldn't leave in the middle of the night. Food didn't have mood swings or hidden agendas. Food was reliable. By 13, Diane had gained 40 pounds. Her foster mother at the time, a woman named Patricia who meant well but didn't understand, put locks on the kitchen cabinets. Diane learned to steal money from Patricia's purse, to buy candy bars at school, to hide food in her backpack like contraband. The weight continued its steady climb. At 16, she met Marcus Webb at a summer job washing dishes at a diner. He was 19, handsome in a careless way, and he paid attention to her when no one else did. 3 months later, she was pregnant. 6 months after that, they were married in a courthouse ceremony with 2 strangers as witnesses. Marcus tried too. That's what Diane tells herself now, lying in the hospital bed where a living room used to be. He worked construction, brought home paychecks, showed up most nights. But he was 19 years old with a pregnant wife, and no idea how to build a life from scratch. When Maya was born, something shifted. The responsibility became real. The walls started closing in. Diane remembers the good months. Marcus holding Maya, making her laugh, talking about buying a house someday. Diane had dropped to 160 after the pregnancy, felt almost normal, almost like someone who could have a regular life. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. They rented a small apartment. For a brief window, the future looked possible. Then Marcus started staying out later, coming home smelling like beer and someone else's perfume. The fights escalated, never physical, but cruel in other ways. He told her she'd gotten fat again, told her she was boring, told her he felt trapped. One morning, when Maya was 18 months old, Diane woke up and Marcus was gone. His clothes, his tools, his presence. erased overnight, just like her mother. Just like every foster home that had ended with a social worker and a garbage bag full of her belongings. The abandonment broke something in Diane that never properly healed. She gained 30 pounds in 2 months. Lost the receptionist job because she started calling in sick, couldn't face people, couldn't pretend everything was fine. Her grandmother, her father's mother, the one person who had stayed in contact through the foster years, took them in, moved them into her small house, helped with Maya, tried to hold the pieces together. Food became Diane's full-time relationship. It numbed the rejection. It filled the space where other people should have been. It was comfort and punishment simultaneously. She ate because she felt worthless, and eating made her feel more worthless, so she ate more. The logic was circular and inescapable. Her grandmother died when Maya was 15. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. Diane was 312 pounds by then, still mobile but declining. She and Maya moved into the apartment on 7th Street, using the small inheritance her grandmother left behind. The walls closed in further. Without her grandmother's steadying presence, Diane's eating intensified. She stopped leaving the apartment except for necessary errands. Then she stopped leaving at all. Grocery delivery, online shopping. The world shrank to the size of a living room, then a bedroom, then a bed. Maya was 14 when she became a caretaker instead of a daughter. 14 when she learned to help her mother shower because Diane could no longer do it alone. 14 when she started lying to her teachers about why she missed school, lying to her friends about why she couldn't hang out, lying to herself about whether this was normal. The pattern was set 18 years earlier when Diane's mother walked out that Tuesday morning. Abandonment, food, weight gain, isolation, more abandonment, more food. A cycle that fed itself, literally and metaphorically, until Diane Carter weighed 587 pounds and her daughter stood in the kitchen, holding a meal plan and a college acceptance letter, trying to decide which future was actually possible. The doctor, Rashid, had asked during the initial phone consultation, "When did you first start using food as a coping mechanism?" Diane couldn't remember a time when she hadn't. The walls hadn't closed in suddenly. They'd been closing for 31 years, one meal at a time, one disappointment at a time, one person leaving at a time. Now Diane lay in a hospital bed in what used to be a living room, and the walls were so close she could touch them without moving. Maya appears in the doorway with lunch. Grilled chicken breast, steamed broccoli, no sauce. "You okay, Mum?" she asks, noticing something in her mother's expression. Diane nods. "Just thinking about your grandma." Maya sets down the tray. Doesn't ask what specifically her mother is thinking, because they both know. Her grandmother was the last person who stayed. Now it's just the two of them, and Maya has a scholarship to state, and 90 days feels simultaneously like forever and no time at all. Maya's alarm goes off at 6:15, but she's already awake. She's been awake since 4:30, staring at the ceiling of her childhood bedroom, doing math that doesn't add up. 90 days until her mother's evaluation. 42 days until she needs to confirm enrollment at state. 18 days until the scholarship offer expires, if she doesn't respond. The numbers don't align. They never do. She gets up, pulls her hair into a ponytail, walks downstairs to begin the routine that has defined her life for 5 years. Her mother needs to be turned every few hours to prevent bed sores, needs help using the bedpan, needs medications administered on schedule, blood pressure pills, diuretics, pain management, needs her skin folds cleaned and dried to prevent infection, needs someone to document her food intake for Dr. Rashid's office. Maya is 19 years old. She knows more about lymphedema treatment than most nursing students. She can calculate her mother's caloric intake in her head. She understands the mechanics of gastric bypass surgery, the risks of anesthesia at extreme obesity, the statistical likelihood of success. She's become an expert in a subject she never chose to study. Her mother is still sleeping when Maya enters the living room. The morning light catches Diane's face at an angle that makes her look younger, almost peaceful. Maya feels the familiar surge of conflicting emotions, love and resentment, devotion and desperation, hope and exhaustion, all competing for space in her chest. She checks her phone while waiting for her mother to wake. 3 missed calls from Jenna, 2 text messages from the registrar's office at state. One email from her academic advisor at community college with the subject line, "We need to talk about your attendance." She deletes them all. "Maya?" Her mother's voice is soft, uncertain. "I'm here, Mum." The morning routine takes 45 minutes, helping Diane sit up, arranging pillows, administering medications, assisting with the bedpan, a process that requires strength, patience, and the ability to pretend this is normal, that it doesn't hurt to see your mother this way. Maya has developed a kind of emotional detachment during these moments, a mental distance that allows her to function without breaking down. Breakfast is precise. Dr. Rashid's plan allows no deviation. Greek yogurt with berries, 1 hard-boiled egg, green tea. Diane eats slowly and Maya watches carefully, noting the portions, checking for hidden resistance. "I've been thinking," Diane says between bites. "Maybe you should go visit Jenna this weekend. Get out of here for a while." Maya's hands still on the medication tray. Her mother does this sometimes, offers small permissions, little gestures meant to absolve the guilt they both feel. But Maya knows the truth. If she leaves for a weekend, who will help her mother to the bathroom? Who will prevent her from ordering delivery, from breaking the diet, from sabotaging the only chance she has left? "I'm fine, Mum." "You're not fine. You're 19. You should be out with friends, not—" Diane gestures vaguely at herself, at the apartment, at the life her daughter has inherited by default. "We're not doing this conversation today, but they are doing it, because it's the conversation that runs underneath every interaction. The unspoken reality that Maya has sacrificed her adolescence, her education, her future on the altar of her mother's illness. And the worst part, the part Maya can't say out loud, is that sometimes she resents her mother for it. Sometimes she lies awake at night and thinks about what her life could have been if she'd been born to someone else, anyone else, someone who didn't need constant care and supervision. The guilt that follows these thoughts is crushing. By noon, Maya has fed her mother lunch, helped her through physical therapy exercises, changed the bedding, and called the pharmacy for prescription refills. She sits in the kitchen with her laptop, trying to focus on an overdue essay for community college, but the words blur on the screen. The acceptance letter from State is still in her drawer. Full scholarship, nursing program, a chance to turn this nightmare into a career, to make meaning from the suffering. But State is 3 hours away. Her mother would need a full-time caretaker. The cost would be astronomical. Medicaid doesn't cover that level of home care. Not unless Diane qualifies for a nursing facility, which she won't until she's completely immobile or medically unstable. Maya opens the desk drawer, takes out the letter, reads it for the 100th time. "What's that?" Her mother's voice carries from the living room. Maya shoves the letter back in the drawer. "Nothing, just school stuff." She hears her mother shift in the bed, hears the familiar sound of labored breathing. She knows she should go check on her, should ask if she needs anything, should continue the routine that keeps them both trapped in this apartment. Instead, she sits frozen at the kitchen table, staring at her laptop screen, feeling the walls closing in the same way they closed in on her mother years ago. Her phone buzzes. Jenna again. "Please talk to me. I'm worried about you." Maya types back, "I'm fine. Just busy." Another lie in a long series of lies. That night, after her mother is settled and the apartment is quiet, Maya stands in the bathroom looking at her reflection. She's lost 12 pounds in the past month without trying. Her clothes hang loose. Her face looks hollow. She's becoming invisible, disappearing into her mother's shadow the same way her mother disappeared into isolation and food. She thinks about the scholarship, about nursing school, about a future where she helps people because she wants to, not because she has no choice. Then she thinks about her mother alone in that bed, unable to move, unable to survive without assistance. She thinks about coming home to find her mother on the floor, or worse, not finding her in time at all. The choice isn't really a choice, it never has been. Maya turns off the bathroom light and goes back downstairs to check on her mother one more time before trying to sleep. Diane is awake, staring at the ceiling, and when she sees Maya, she smiles. A small, sad smile that carries 18 years of apology. "I love you, baby," Diane whispers. "I love you too, Mom." Neither of them mentions the scholarship. Neither of them mentions the 90 days that are already slipping away. Neither of them mentions the fact that saving one life might require destroying another. The burden of enabling isn't just about food. It's about love twisted into something that suffocates instead of sustains. About sacrifice that feels both noble and devastating. About the impossible mathematics of two people drowning and only one life raft between them. Dr. Rashid's office is on the 3rd floor of a medical complex that specializes in bariatric cases. There's a freight elevator with reinforced walls, wheelchairs designed to hold up to 700 pounds, and a waiting room where no one makes eye contact. Maya has called ahead 3 times to confirm they can accommodate her mother. The medical transport van costs $370 each way, money they don't have, borrowed from a credit card Maya opened in her own name. It takes 4 people to get Diane from the apartment to the van. 2 paramedics, Maya and the building superintendent, who helps for an extra $50 cash. Diane's face burns with humiliation the entire time. She apologizes repeatedly, a steady stream of I'm so sorry that makes the situation worse, because everyone pretends not to hear it. The van ride takes 20 minutes. Diane stares out the window at a world she hasn't seen in 18 months. New construction on 5th Avenue. A coffee shop that used to be a bookstore. Teenagers walking to school with backpacks, laughing, normal. Maya watches her mother's face and sees something she hasn't seen in years. Longing for a life that exists outside 4 walls. Dr. Rashid is younger than Maya expected. Maybe 40, with kind eyes and a direct manner that suggests he's had difficult conversations before. He doesn't react to Diane's size the way most people do. No visible shock, no poorly hidden judgment, just professional assessment. "Ms. Carter," he says, shaking Diane's hand, "thank you for coming in. I know this wasn't easy." Diane's voice is barely audible. "Thank you for seeing me." The examination room is large, clinical, equipped for patients at extreme obesity, a specialized scale built into the floor, an examination table that hydraulically adjusts. Dr. Rashid moves efficiently, checking vitals, reviewing medical history, asking questions in a tone that manages to be both clinical and compassionate. Blood pressure, 168/112. Dangerous. Heart rate at rest, 94 beats per minute. Concerning. Blood oxygen, 91%, below normal. "When did you last have blood work done?" Dr. Rashid asks. 3 years ago, Diane admits. He nods, makes notes, doesn't lecture. "We'll need comprehensive labs. I also want to schedule a sleep study. I suspect you have severe sleep apnea. And we need an echocardiogram to evaluate your heart function before we can even discuss surgical options." Maya sits in the corner, taking notes on her phone, translating medical terminology she's taught herself through late-night research. Sleep apnea means Diane stops breathing during sleep, potentially dozens of times per night. The echocardiogram will show if her heart is enlarged, if the strain of carrying nearly 600 pounds has caused permanent damage. Dr. Rashid pulls up a chair, sits at eye level with Diane. "I'm going to be honest with you, Ms. Carter. Your condition is life-threatening. Without intervention, I'd estimate you have less than 2 years, possibly less than 1 if your heart continues to deteriorate at the current rate." Diane's hands shake. Maya feels her own throat tighten. "However," Dr. Rashid continues, "gastric bypass surgery has shown remarkable success in cases like yours, but it's not a magic solution. Surgery is a tool, not a cure. The real work is psychological, behavioral, lifelong." "I understand," Diane whispers. "Before we can schedule surgery, you need to demonstrate commitment. I need you to lose 60 pounds over the next 90 days. That's approximately 5 pounds per week. Aggressive, but achievable with strict adherence to the meal plan my nutritionist will provide." Maya speaks for the first time. What if she doesn't lose 60 pounds? Dr. Rashid's expression is sympathetic, but firm. "Then we can't move forward. Surgery at her current weight carries too high a risk of fatal complications. The mortality rate would be over 30%. I won't operate under those conditions." The room falls silent. 30% mortality. Diane processes this number, understands what it means. 3 in 10 people die on the table, but staying at 587 pounds is a different kind of death sentence. slower but equally certain. "I can do this," Diane says, her voice stronger now. "I have to do this." Dr. Rashid hands them a folder, thick with information. Meal plans organized by week, a food journal to complete daily. Physical therapy exercises Diane can do in bed, gradually progressing to standing, then walking. A schedule of weekly weigh-ins and counseling sessions with a therapist who specializes in eating disorders and trauma. "You'll also need to attend a support group," Dr. Rashid adds. "Every Tuesday evening, virtual attendance is acceptable. You need to hear from others who've been through this process, understand what you're facing." He turns to Maya. "And you need support too. Caretaker burnout is real and dangerous. There's a separate group for family members. I strongly encourage you to participate." Maya nods but doesn't commit. She can't imagine adding another obligation to her schedule. Can't imagine sitting in a room, virtual or otherwise, talking about her feelings while her mother needs constant care. The appointment ends with paperwork, prescriptions, and a follow-up scheduled for 1 week. The medical transport van takes them back to 7th Street. The same 4 people carry Diane back up to the apartment. The same humiliation, the same apologies, the same understanding that this is what life has become. That evening, Maya tapes the meal plan to the refrigerator. Week 1 stares back at her. Precise portions, no substitutions, every meal planned to the gram. 60 pounds in 90 days. 12 weeks that will determine if her mother lives or dies. Diane lies in her bed, staring at the ceiling, holding a photo of Maya from her high school graduation. In the picture, Maya is smiling, wearing her cap and gown, looking toward a future that still seemed possible. That was 2 years ago. 2 years that feel like 20. "I'm going to do this," Diane whispers to the empty room. "I'm going to do this for you." But the promise sounds hollow, even as she makes it, because Diane has made promises before, has started diets before, has believed she could change before, and every time the pattern reasserted itself, the emotional trigger, the overwhelming urge, the food that numbed everything except the shame. Dr. Rashid said surgery is a tool, not a cure, but what he didn't say, what no one can say, is whether Diane Carter still has the capacity to use any tool at all, or if 18 years of using food to survive has broken something that can't be repaired by meal plans and good intentions. The 90-day countdown has officially begun. Outside the apartment, the world continues. People going to work, students going to school, lives proceeding on schedule. Inside, 2 women prepare for a battle that will require everything they have and might still not be enough. Week 3 brings the first real victory. Diane steps onto the specialized scale Dr. Rashid's office sent to the apartment, a medical-grade device that transmits data directly to his computer system. The number flashes 564 pounds, 23 pounds lost. Maya watches the number appear, feels something unlock in her chest. Hope. Dangerous, fragile hope that maybe this time is different. "Mom, you did it," Maya breathes. "You're ahead of schedule." Diane's eyes fill with tears. She hasn't seen progress like this in 15 years. The meal plan is working. The portion control, the elimination of processed foods, the careful tracking of every calorie, it's all working. Her blood pressure is down. Her breathing is easier. She can sit up for longer periods without becoming exhausted. Dr. Rashid calls that afternoon, his voice warm with approval. "Excellent work, Ms. Carter. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. I want to see you continue this trajectory." That night, Maya allows herself to think about state, about nursing school, about a future where her mother is mobile, independent, capable of living alone. She pulls out the acceptance letter, reads it again, calculates timelines. If her mother loses 60 pounds by the evaluation, gets approved for surgery, recovers successfully, maybe Maya could defer enrollment by 1 semester. Start in January instead of September. It's not perfect, but it's possible. She falls asleep feeling something she hasn't felt in months. Optimism. Week 4 continues the trend. Diane loses another 6 pounds. 558. She's doing physical therapy exercises daily now. Leg lifts, arm movements, core engagement. Small motions that leave her exhausted, but gradually build strength. Maya helps her stand for 30 seconds at a time, supporting her weight, watching her mother's legs shake with the effort of holding her own body upright. "I forgot what standing felt like," Diane says, wonder in her voice. The Tuesday support group becomes part of the routine. Diane joins the virtual session on Maya's laptop, listening to others share their stories. A man named Robert who lost 200 pounds after surgery. A woman named Sharon who's preparing for her procedure next month. They talk about triggers, about emotional eating, about the psychological work required to change decades of patterns. Diane doesn't speak during the sessions. She just listens, absorbing their experiences, understanding for the first time that she's not alone in this. Week 5, £552, £35 lost total. Maya starts researching nursing school prerequisites, sending emails to academic advisors, asking about deferred enrollment options. She tells herself she's being practical, planning ahead. She doesn't admit that she's already emotionally committing to leaving, but week 6 brings the first crack. Maya comes downstairs at 2 in the morning for a glass of water and finds her mother awake, staring at the ceiling with an expression she recognizes: anxiety. The kind that used to precede binges, back when Diane could still move freely enough to raid the kitchen. "Mum, you okay?" "Fine, just can't sleep." Maya gets the water, goes back upstairs, but something feels wrong. The apartment has a different energy, a tension she can't identify. The next morning she finds a fast food wrapper wedged behind the trash can. Burger King. Large fries, large soda, double cheeseburger. She stands in the kitchen holding the wrapper, feeling the hope from week 3 evaporate. "Mom." Maya walks into the living room, voice carefully controlled. "Did you order delivery last night?" Diane's face goes pale. I was just so hungry. The meal plan, it's not enough sometimes, and I couldn't sleep, and how did you even order it? I have your phone." Silence. Then, quietly, "I used the tablet. I'm sorry. I was going to tell you." Maya feels something shift inside her, something that's been building for 5 years. Anger. Not the quick flash of frustration she's felt before, but a deep, burning anger at the impossibility of this situation. She can control the food in the apartment. She can measure portions. She can monitor every meal, but she can't chain her mother to the bed. She can't stop her from finding ways to sabotage herself. "Do you understand what you're doing?" Maya's voice shakes. "You're not just hurting yourself. You're killing any chance I have at a normal life." The words land like physical blows. Diane starts crying and Maya feels immediately guilty, but she can't take it back because it's true. It's the truth they've been avoiding for months, maybe years. "I'll do better," Diane sobs. "I promise I'll do better." But Maya has heard these promises before. She starts checking the apartment more carefully, finds evidence Diane has been hiding for weeks: candy bar wrappers stuffed inside a pillowcase, an empty pizza box in the recycling, hidden under newspapers. Evidence of multiple nighttime deliveries ordered while Maya slept, paid for with a credit card Maya didn't know her mother had. The week 7 weigh-in tells the story. £556, £4 gained. Dr. Rashid's voice on the phone is measured but serious. "Ms. Carter, what happened this week?" Diane lies, says she's been retaining water, that her period is coming, that the scale must be wrong. Maya sits across the room, listening to her mother construct a reality that doesn't exist, and feels something fundamental break between them. Trust. The fragile trust that has held them together is fracturing. That night, Maya confronts her mother with the evidence: the wrappers, the receipts she found, the timeline of secret deliveries. "Why?" Maya asks. "Just tell me why." Diane's answer comes slowly, painfully honest for the first time in weeks. "Because at night, when you're asleep and the apartment is quiet, I feel it all. Every person who left me, every time I wasn't enough, and the food makes it stop. Just for a little while, it makes everything stop." Maya wants to understand, wants to have compassion, but she's 19 years old and she's been drowning for 5 years, and her scholarship deadline is 23 days away. "I can't save you if you won't save yourself," Maya says, her voice breaking. "I can't keep doing this." The week 8 weigh-in, £559, £7 gained from the lowest point. The progress is reversing. The 90-day window is closing. And Maya realizes with crushing clarity that her mother's demons are stronger than meal plans, Stronger than medical intervention, maybe stronger than the will to live. Dr. Rashid schedules an emergency counseling session. The therapist asks Diane the questions Maya has been afraid to ask. Do you want to die? Diane's answer is whispered but definitive. I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live like this. The small victories are being devoured by hidden sabotage. The pattern is reasserting itself, and the 90-day countdown continues, indifferent to hope or heartbreak, ticking toward a deadline that will determine everything. Day 90 arrives on a Tuesday morning in late September. The medical transport van pulls up at 8:30. The same 4 people assemble to move Diane from apartment to vehicle, the same route to Dr. Rashid's office. But everything feels different now, heavier, final. Maya hasn't slept in 2 days. She knows what the scale will say. She's been tracking every midnight delivery, every hidden wrapper, every moment her mother chose temporary relief over survival. The math is simple and devastating. Diane needed to lose 60 pounds. She lost 35 at her best moment, then gained back 17. Current weight, 569 pounds. 18 pounds lost total over 90 days, 42 pounds short of the requirement. Dr. Rashid's office feels colder than usual. The scale confirms what Maya already knows. The number displays on the screen, and Diane makes a sound like something breaking inside her chest. 569, the nurse says, her voice professionally neutral. Dr. Rashid enters the examination room with Diane's file, his expression carefully composed. He sits down, reviews the data, the weekly weigh-ins that show the pattern. Initial success, then regression, then the steady climb back up. He's seen this before, many times before. Ms. Carter, he begins, his tone gentle but uncompromising. We need to talk about what happens now. Diane can't meet his eyes. I tried. I really tried. I know you did. For the first 5 weeks, you did everything right. Your progress was excellent. But then something changed. I couldn't sustain it, Diane whispers. The feelings, I couldn't make them stop without the food. Dr. Rashid nods. That's the reality we're facing. Obesity at your level isn't primarily a physical problem. It's a psychological one. The food is treating symptoms of trauma, abandonment, depression. Until we address the underlying causes, no meal plan will work long-term. Maya speaks for the first time, her voice raw. So what now? You just give up on her? No, Dr. Rashid says firmly. I'm not giving up. But I can't perform surgery under these conditions. The risk is too high, and more importantly, the likelihood of long-term success is nearly zero. Surgery won't fix what's broken. It'll just force the problem to express itself differently. He turns back to Diane. I'm withdrawing my approval for gastric bypass at this time. That doesn't mean never. It means not now, not like this. The words land like a death sentence. Diane starts crying, deep sobs that shake her entire body. Maya sits frozen, watching her mother fall apart, feeling her own future collapse in real time. What are my options? Diane manages to ask through tears. Intensive therapy. 3 times per week with a trauma specialist. I'm also recommending you consider an inpatient treatment facility that specializes in eating disorders and extreme obesity. They can provide round-the-clock support, psychiatric care, structured meals, and the kind of intensive intervention you need. How long? Maya asks. Minimum 3 months, possibly 6. Maya does the math instantly. 3 to 6 months of inpatient care means her mother needs 24-hour professional supervision. It means Maya could theoretically go to state, could start her life, could stop being a caretaker and start being a 19-year-old college student. The relief she feels makes her hate herself. I can't afford that, Diane says quietly. My insurance won't cover residential treatment for obesity. Dr. Rashid pulls out information packets. There are programs with sliding scale fees. Some accept Medicaid with prior authorization. It's not easy, but it's possible. The question is whether you're willing to do the work. After the appointment, Maya wheels her mother back to the van in silence. The ride home feels eternal. The same 4 people carry Diane back upstairs. She's gained weight since the first appointment. They struggle more now, breathe harder, take longer breaks. Back in the apartment, Diane lies in her bed staring at the ceiling while Maya stands in the kitchen holding the residential treatment brochures. 3 to 6 months. Applications, waiting lists, insurance battles, all obstacles but also all opportunities. "Maya?" Her mother's voice carries from the living room. "Can you come here?" Maya walks in, sits in the chair she's occupied for 5 years, looks at her mother and waits. "I know about the scholarship," Diane says quietly. "I found the letter last month when you left your phone unlocked. State University, full ride, nursing program." Maya's chest tightens. "Mom, you should go." Diane's voice is steady now, clearer than it's been in weeks. "You should accept the scholarship and go to state. You can't take care of yourself." "I know. That's why I'm going to apply for the residential program. If I get accepted, you'll be free. If I don't—" Diane trails off, the implication hanging heavy between them. "If you don't what? You just stay here and die?" Diane meets her daughter's eyes. "If I don't get into residential treatment, then my choices are my own responsibility. Not yours, they've never been yours, but I let you believe they were. I let you sacrifice your life because it was easier than facing my own failure." Maya feels tears streaming down her face. "I can't just abandon you." "You're not abandoning me, you're choosing yourself. That's different. That's what you should have been allowed to do all along." The conversation that follows is the most honest they've had in years. Maya admits she resents her mother, admits she's been planning to leave, been dreaming of leaving, been desperately hoping for an exit. Diane admits she's been using her daughter's devotion as another coping mechanism, another way to avoid facing the real work of recovery. "I enabled you by staying," Maya says, the realization hitting her with force. "Every time I brought you food, every time I helped you hide from the world, I made it easier for you to keep destroying yourself." "Yes," Diane agrees. "You did. And I let you, because it served me." The brutal honesty is painful but necessary. They've been locked in a codependent cycle, where Maya's caretaking allowed Diane to avoid responsibility, and Diane's helplessness gave Maya purpose and permission to delay her own life. "What if you don't make it?" Maya asks, voice breaking. "What if I go to state and you die while I'm gone?" Diane considers this. "Then I die and you live. That's how it's supposed to work, baby. Parents aren't supposed to consume their children's futures." That evening, Maya submits her acceptance to State University, confirms enrollment, commits to the nursing program starting in January, 4 months away. 4 months for her mother to get into residential treatment, to begin the real work of recovery, to prove that this time might actually be different. Diane begins the application process for 3 different treatment facilities, fills out forms, gathers medical records, writes essays about her history and commitment to change. It's humbling, exposing, terrifying. The reckoning isn't about the number on the scale. It's about 2 people finally admitting the truth. Love isn't enough. Good intentions aren't enough. Someone has to choose life actively and repeatedly, or all the medical intervention and family sacrifice in the world won't matter. Dr. Rashid's rejection wasn't failure. It was clarity. The real work was never about 60 pounds in 90 days. It was about whether Diane Carter could face her trauma without food to numb it, and whether Maya Carter could save herself even if her mother couldn't. The first residential treatment facility rejects Diane's application. Insufficient insurance coverage. The second has a 14-month waiting list. The third accepts her in principle, but requires a $2,000 deposit up front, money they don't have and can't borrow. It's October now. Maya leaves for state in January. 93 days and counting. Without the structure of Dr. Rashid's program, without the weekly weigh-ins and the deadline pressure, Diane's eating spirals. She gains 12 pounds in 2 weeks, then 8 more. By mid-October, she weighs 594 pounds, 7 pounds heavier than when this journey started. Maya watches it happen with a strange detachment. She's already mentally left. She attends her community college classes, finishes her incomplete coursework, prepares for the transition to state. She still helps her mother with basic care. She's not cruel, but the emotional investment has shifted. She's protecting herself now, building walls where there used to be codependency. "You're leaving me," Diane says one night, not accusatory, just stating fact. "Yes," Maya replies. I am. The honesty is brutal but clean. No more pretending this situation is sustainable. No more sacrificing Maya's future on the altar of Diane's illness. But rock bottom, it turns out, has a basement. On a Tuesday in late October, Maya comes home from class and finds her mother unresponsive. Not unconscious exactly, but not fully present. Diane's skin is grey, her breathing shallow, her eyes unfocused. There's an empty bottle of pain medication on the bedside table. The prescription should have lasted another week. Maya calls 911. Paramedics arrive, assess the situation, determine Diane's blood sugar has dropped to 43, dangerously low, verging on diabetic coma. They also find her blood pressure at 200/135 stroke territory. Has she taken any medications today? The paramedic asks. Maya checks the pill organizer she meticulously maintains. Everything is gone. A week's worth of medications taken in a single day. Blood pressure pills, diuretics, pain medication, antidepressants. Was this intentional? The paramedic asks carefully. Maya looks at her mother's face, sees something she hasn't seen before. Resignation. Not quite a suicide attempt, but not quite an accident either. A passive surrender to whatever comes next. I don't know, Maya answers honestly. They transport Diane to the emergency room. It takes 8 people to move her from the apartment. The building superintendent watches from his doorway, shaking his head. The neighbors peer through windows. Maya feels the weight of their judgment and realizes she doesn't care anymore. She's past shame, past pride, past everything except exhaustion. The ER stabilizes Diane's blood sugar, monitors her cardiac function, pumps her stomach as a precaution. A psychiatrist evaluates her for suicidal ideation. Diane claims it was an accident, that she forgot she'd already taken her medications, that her mind was foggy. The psychiatrist doesn't believe her, neither does Maya. Ms. Carter, the psychiatrist says gently, do you want to die? Diane's answer comes after a long silence. I want to stop feeling like this. If dying is the only way to make it stop, then yes. I guess I do. They admit her to the hospital's behavioral health unit for 72-hour observation. It's a small mercy. 3 days where Maya doesn't have to be responsible for keeping her mother alive. 3 days where professionals handle the medications, the meals, the constant vigilance. Maya sits in the hospital cafeteria at 2 in the morning, drinking terrible coffee, staring at her phone. She has 27 unread messages from Jenna, from her academic advisor, from the State University Housing Office asking about roommate preferences. She has a normal life waiting for her in 90 days, and a mother who's actively trying to escape her own. Dr. Rashid visits Diane in the behavioral health unit. He's blunt in a way he wasn't before, the kid gloves removed. You're dying, Ms. Carter, not metaphorically, literally. Your heart is failing. Your organs are being crushed by your own weight. You attempted to overdose, yes, attempted, whether you want to call it that or not. You have a daughter who's about to leave for college. What happens when she's gone? Diane has no answer. I can't help you if you won't help yourself, Dr. Rashid continues. Surgery isn't an option anymore. Residential treatment keeps rejecting you. Your insurance won't cover the level of care you need. So, what's your plan? I don't have one, Diane admits. Then you need to make one. Because what you're doing right now is passive suicide, and I won't be complicit in it. The psychiatrist recommends intensive outpatient therapy, 3 hours per day, 5 days per week, and assigns Diane a caseworker to help navigate the maze of insurance, Medicaid, disability services. It's not residential treatment, but it's something. They discharge Diane after 4 days with a safety plan, new medications, and a home health aide scheduled to visit 3 times weekly. The aide's name is Patricia, coincidentally the same name as one of Diane's foster mothers, and she's a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who doesn't tolerate self-pity. You want to die, that's between you and God, Patricia says on her first visit. But on my watch, you're going to take your medications correctly, eat your meals on schedule, and participate in your physical therapy. Understood? Diane nods, too defeated to argue. Maya watches this interaction from the kitchen and feels something unexpected. Not hope exactly, but perhaps the recognition that her mother needs help Maya can't provide. Patricia has boundaries. Patricia doesn't get emotionally destroyed when Diane backslides. Patricia can do this job and then go home to her own life. November arrives cold and grey. Maya applies for student loans to cover her mother's bills after she leaves, sets up automatic payments, creates detailed instructions for Patricia about medications, dietary restrictions, emergency contacts. She's building a safety net, or at least the appearance of one. Diane attends the intensive outpatient program, though she rarely speaks during group sessions. She weighs 602 pounds now. The lymphedema in her legs has worsened. She can barely stand even with assistance. The physical deterioration is accelerating. One night, Maya finds her mother crying quietly in the dark. "I'm sorry," Diane whispers, "for all of it. For every single thing." Maya sits beside the bed, holds her mother's swollen hand. "I know. I don't know how to fix this." "Maybe you can't," Maya says, the truth stark and terrible. "Maybe some things are just broken." They sit in silence, two people who love each other but can't save each other, watching the clock tick toward January and the inevitable separation that feels both like abandonment and salvation. Rock bottom wasn't the failed evaluation. It wasn't even the overdose. Rock bottom is the moment you realize that love, willpower, and good intentions combined still might not be enough to overcome 18 years of trauma manifested as 600 pounds of flesh. Rock bottom is accepting that some people drown even when lifeguards are present. And sometimes, the kindest thing the lifeguard can do is swim to shore before they drown too. Maya leaves for State University on January 7th. The apartment feels enormous in her absence, filled with silence that used to be interrupted by her daughter's footsteps, her voice, her constant presence. Diane lies in her bed and understands, perhaps for the first time, what true isolation feels like. Patricia comes 3 times weekly. A visiting nurse checks vitals twice a week. A physical therapist named Jerome arrives Mondays and Thursdays to work on basic mobility. But the other 150 hours of each week belong to Diane alone. She weighs 608 pounds. The hospital bed groans under her weight. Her body has become a landscape of pain, knees that scream with any movement, back that spasms constantly, skin that weeps fluid from lymphedema. Every breath is work. Every heartbeat feels precarious. Without Maya to cushion reality, Diane faces herself. The intensive outpatient program continues, but something shifts in week 3. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Okonkwo, who specializes in trauma and addiction, asks a question no one has asked before. "Diane, what did food give you that nothing else could?" Diane considers this. Safety, I guess. Control. When everything else was chaos, I could control what I ate. And what does it give you now? The answer comes slowly, painfully. Nothing. It doesn't work anymore. I eat and I still feel everything. The pain, the fear, the loneliness. Food stopped working years ago, but I kept using it anyway because I didn't know what else to do. Dr. Okonkwo nods. That's addiction. When the solution becomes the problem. But you can't stop, because stopping means feeling everything you've been running from for decades. It's February when the breakthrough happens. Diane is in group therapy, listening to a man named Vincent talk about losing his wife to cancer, about eating himself to 450 pounds because food was the only thing that made the grief bearable. He's crying, and Diane realizes she's crying too, and for the first time in 18 years she's crying about something other than her own body. She's crying for the 7-year-old whose mother left, for the teenager in foster care who learned that people leave, for the young wife abandoned with a baby, for every version of herself that never learned she was worth staying for. "I thought I was garbage," Diane says out loud, her voice shaking. "Every person who left confirmed it. So I became what I thought I was. I buried myself under 600 pounds because that's what garbage does. It piles up." The room goes silent. Dr. Okonkwo leans forward. "And now?" "Now I don't know. But my daughter left, and I'm still here. She chose herself, and I'm still alive. Maybe I don't have to be garbage." It's a small shift, barely perceptible, but it's real. Diane starts engaging in therapy instead of just attending, starts talking instead of sitting silent, starts examining the patterns instead of simply repeating them. Patricia notices the change. "You're different," she observes one morning while helping Diane with her shower routine. "I'm trying to be," Diane replies. The weight doesn't drop dramatically. It's not a television montage. But by March, Diane weighs 591 pounds, 17 pounds lost in 8 weeks. It's slow, but it's consistent. More importantly, it's happening without Maya monitoring every bite, without external pressure, without anyone forcing compliance. Diane is choosing it. She calls Maya once a week. The conversations are brief, carefully boundaried. Maya talks about her classes, her roommate, the hospital rotation she's starting next month. She asks about her mother's health, but doesn't take responsibility for it. The distance is healthy, necessary, though it hurts them both. "I'm proud of you, baby," Diane says during one call. "I'm trying to be proud of you too, Mom," Maya replies honestly. In April, something unexpected happens. Dr. Rashid calls. "Ms. Carter, I've been reviewing your progress with Dr. Okonkwo. She tells me you've been doing exceptional work in therapy. Your weight is trending downward consistently. How would you feel about revisiting the possibility of surgery?" Diane's first instinct is disbelief. "I thought that door was closed." "It was. But you've demonstrated something I needed to see, genuine behavioral change sustained over time without external pressure. That's the strongest predictor of post-surgical success. What would I need to do? Continue your current trajectory. Lose another 40 pounds over the next 4 months. Keep engaging with therapy. Prove that this change is permanent, not just another attempt that will collapse under stress." Diane does the math. 40 pounds in 16 weeks, 2.5 pounds per week. Aggressive, but achievable. The difference is that this time, she wants it. Not to satisfy Dr. Rashid, not to keep Maya from leaving, but because she's finally addressing why she ate in the first place. The work is excruciating. Therapy 3 days a week means confronting every abandonment, every failure, every moment she used food to avoid feeling. Dr. Okonkwo doesn't let her hide. They process the mother who left, the foster homes, Marcus's abandonment, the years of isolation. "You learned that love was conditional," Dr. Okonkwo explains, "that you had to earn it, and when you couldn't, people left. So you stopped trying to earn it. You decided if you were going to be rejected anyway, you might as well be rejected for something you could control." Diane nods, understanding for the first time why every diet had failed. She wasn't losing weight. She was trying to become worthy of love. And since she believed she wasn't, the weight always came back. Proof of her unworthiness made flesh. "What if you're already worthy?" Dr. Okonkwo asks. "What if you were always worthy and the people who left were wrong?" The question breaks something open in Diane's chest. By June, she weighs 549 pounds, 59 pounds lost since January. The physical therapy is working. She can stand for 5 minutes now, can take shuffling steps with a walker. Jerome pushes her harder each session, and she lets him because the pain of movement is finally less than the pain of staying still. Patricia helps her shower standing up for the first time in 4 years. Diane cries through the entire process, not from physical pain, but from the staggering reality of progress. Maya comes home for a weekend visit in July. She walks into the apartment and stops, genuinely shocked. Her mother is sitting in a chair, not lying in bed, but sitting upright in a reinforced chair by the window. "Hi, baby," Diane says, smiling. Maya's eyes fill with tears. "Mum, you're sitting." "I'm sitting." They talk for hours. Real conversation, not the careful, boundaried phone calls. Maya shares her fears about nursing school, about whether she's smart enough, whether she made the right choice. Diane listens without making it about herself, without using her daughter's anxiety as an excuse to derail her own progress. "You're going to be an amazing nurse," Diane says. "You've been taking care of people your whole life. Now you'll get paid for it." On August 15th, Diane steps onto the scale in Dr. Rashid's office. 531 pounds, 77 pounds lost in 7 months. She's met the requirement with 9 pounds to spare. Dr. Rashid reviews her file, her therapy notes, her consistent attendance, her behavioral changes. He looks at Diane and sees something he didn't see 8 months ago. Commitment, not to weight loss, but to living differently. "Ms. Carter," he says, "I'm approving you for gastric bypass surgery. We'll schedule for mid-September. Are you ready?" Diane thinks about the question. Ready means understanding that surgery is a tool, not a cure. Ready means knowing the real work continues after the procedure. Ready means accepting that she might fail, but choosing to try anyway. Yes, Diane says. I'm ready. The second chance wasn't given. It was earned, one painful therapy session at a time, one meal chosen consciously instead of consumed compulsively, one moment of facing feelings instead of eating them. The surgery is scheduled for September 19th at 6 in the morning. Diane is admitted the day before for pre-operative preparation, blood work, imaging, consultations with the anesthesiology team, who've been briefed on the complications of operating on a patient at extreme obesity. The hospital bed is reinforced. The operating table has been specially configured. Everyone is prepared for the technical challenges except Diane, who lies in the pre-op room understanding that after tomorrow, food will never work the same way again. Maya arrives from state the night before, takes a bus for 3 hours to be there. She finds her mother awake, staring at the ceiling with an expression that's become familiar, fear and determination occupying the same space. Hey, Mom. You didn't have to come. Yes, I did. They don't talk much. Maya holds her mother's hand, feeling the swollen fingers that have shrunk slightly over 7 months, but still bear the evidence of years at extreme weight. The silence between them is different now, not heavy with resentment, but gentle with acceptance. I'm scared, Diane finally admits. I know. Not of the surgery. I'm scared of what comes after. Food has been my best friend for 30 years. Tomorrow, I lose that friend. Maya squeezes her hand. Then you'll have to find new friends. The surgery takes 6 hours. Dr. Rashid and his team navigate the technical complexity of Diane's anatomy, excess abdominal tissue, a liver enlarged by fatty deposits, adhesions from years of immobility. They reroute her digestive system, creating a small pouch from her stomach and connecting it directly to her small intestine. When it's done, Diane's stomach capacity has been reduced from the size of a football to the size of an egg. She wakes in recovery disoriented, in pain, with tubes running from her body and monitors beeping steadily. The first thing she feels is nausea. The second is a crushing awareness that she can't eat to make the nausea go away. The first week post-op is medical management, pain control, preventing blood clots, monitoring for leaks or infections. Diane is allowed only ice chips, then clear liquids measured in ounces. 2 ounces of broth feels like a full meal. 3 ounces of protein shake sits in her reduced stomach like a stone. But the physical challenges aren't what breaks her. It's the nights. Without food to numb emotions, everything surfaces. Diane lies in her hospital bed at 2 in the morning, and the grief arrives like a tidal wave. Grief for her mother who left, grief for the childhood she never had, grief for Marcus, for her grandmother, for every version of herself that got buried under 600 pounds. She cries so hard a nurse comes to check on her, concerned about her heart rate. I can't stop, Diane gasps between sobs. I can't make it stop. Make what stop, honey? Everything. I feel everything and I can't eat to make it go away. The nurse, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, sits beside the bed. That's what happens when you remove the anesthetic. You feel the pain you've been avoiding. It's going to be like this for a while. How long? As long as it takes. But feeling it is how you heal it. Dr. Okonkwo visits daily during the hospital stay, continuing therapy even as Diane recovers from surgery. This is the real work, she explains. Surgery changed your stomach. Now we change how you process emotions without using food. They practice breathing exercises, mindfulness techniques, ways to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of eating them. It's excruciating. Every emotion feels magnified, intolerable. Diane experiences rage she's suppressed for decades, rage at her mother, at Marcus, at every person who abandoned her. The anger has nowhere to go, no food to absorb it. She screams into her pillow one night, a raw sound of fury that's been building for 31 years. Maya witnesses one of these breakdowns during a visit. Her mother, barely able to walk 10 feet, sobbing uncontrollably over something that seems minor. A nurse who spoke to her curtly. But it's not about the nurse. It's about every time someone treated Diane as less than human because of her weight. "I'm sorry you have to see this," Diane gasps. "Don't apologize," Maya says, her own voice shaking. "This is what it looks like to actually deal with your shit instead of eating it." By week 3, Diane is home with Patricia supervising her recovery. The apartment feels different, smaller somehow, though nothing has physically changed. Diane is on a liquid diet, graduating slowly to pureed foods. Each meal is measured in tablespoons. Her body is learning to function with a radically altered digestive system. The weight drops rapidly at first, 23 pounds in the first month post-surgery, but Diane feels worse, not better. The excess skin hangs from her arms, her abdomen, her legs. She's exhausted constantly, and the emotional volatility intensifies. She cycles through rage, grief, anxiety, and a bone-deep fear that this won't work, that she'll find a way to sabotage herself, even with a stomach the size of an egg. Dr. Okonkwo increases therapy to 4 sessions per week. "You're experiencing what we call transfer addiction," she explains. "Your brain is searching desperately for something to replace food. Some post-bariatric patients develop alcohol problems, gambling addictions, compulsive shopping. We need to intercept that pattern before it starts." Diane feels the pull toward other compulsions, spending hours online shopping, obsessing over her appearance, fixating on Maya's life at state. She recognizes the pattern, the desperate search for something to fill the void that food used to occupy. "What if there's nothing?" Diane asks during therapy. "What if I remove food and there's just emptiness?" "Then we learn to sit with emptiness," Dr. Okonkwo replies. "We learn that you don't need to fill every void, that sometimes empty is just empty, not something that requires fixing." 3 months post-surgery, Diane weighs 487 pounds, 44 pounds lost since the operation. She can walk from her bed to the bathroom without assistance, can shower standing up, can put on her own socks, though reaching her feet still requires effort. The victory feels hollow because she's still battling her mind every single day. Still learning to feel anger without eating, to feel sadness without eating, to feel joy when it occasionally surfaces without celebrating with food. The surgery fixed her stomach, but the psychological battle intensifies because now there's nowhere to hide. No food to provide temporary relief, just Diane and her demons finally forced to face each other without mediation. This is the aftermath no one warns you about. That the real surgery happens in your mind, and it takes far longer than 6 hours in an operating room. Diane Carter stands at the bus stop on 5th Avenue, waiting for the number 12 that will take her to the grocery store where she works part-time as a cashier. It's March, still cold, and she pulls her coat tighter. A coat she bought at a regular store, size 2X, not from a specialty catalogue for the morbidly obese. The coat fits loosely. She's swimming in it, actually, because she's lost another 18 pounds since her last clothing purchase and hasn't had money to replace everything. She weighs 312 pounds, still obese by any medical standard, still struggling with mobility issues, with excess skin that hangs from her body like a reminder of who she used to be, still battling her mind every single day. But she's standing at a bus stop, independently, going to work. The bus arrives and she climbs the 3 steps, something that would have been impossible 2 years ago, unthinkable 3 years ago. She pays her fare, finds a seat that fits her body without modification, watches the city pass by the window. Normal things, unremarkable things, things that feel like miracles. The grocery store job is nothing glamorous. Minimum wage, 4-hour shifts 3 times a week, standing at a register, scanning items and making small talk with customers. Her manager hired her despite her weight, despite the obvious physical limitations, because he saw something in her application, a determination that translated even through a resume. Her co-workers are kind, mostly. A few make comments. She's overheard whispers about how someone lets themselves get like that. But Diane has learned through countless therapy sessions that other people's judgments say more about them than about her. She does her job. She's reliable. She shows up. Dr. Okonkwo still sees her twice a week. The therapy is ongoing, will likely be ongoing for years. They're working now on self-compassion, on forgiving herself for the decades spent trapped in her own body, on accepting that recovery isn't linear and perfection isn't the goal. "You're still restricting emotionally," Dr. Okonkwo observed last session. You're allowing yourself to feel anger and grief, but you won't let yourself feel joy. Why? Diane had to think about that. Because joy feels dangerous. Like if I'm happy, something will come and take it away. And what would you do if something did take it away? The old Diane would have said she'd eat. The current Diane understands the question differently. I'd feel sad, and then I'd feel something else because feelings pass. That's what I'm learning. They all pass. Maya comes home for spring break in 2 weeks. Their relationship is still rebuilding, still cautious, still marked by the years of codependency and resentment. But it's better, healthier. They talk on the phone weekly now, real conversations where Maya shares her struggles with organic chemistry, and Diane offers support without making it about herself. Maya is thriving at State. Made Dean's List last semester. Has friends, a study group, a normal college experience. She's dating someone, a nursing student named Chris who Diane has only seen in photos, but who makes her daughter smile in a way Diane hasn't seen since Maya was a child. I'm proud of you, baby, Diane tells her during their calls. I'm proud of you too, Mom, Maya replies, and means it now in a way she couldn't a year ago. The apartment on 7th Street is different. The hospital bed is gone, replaced with a regular bed. The living room is a living room again. Diane has photographs on the walls now. Not just the old ones from her grandmother, but new ones. A picture of herself at work, taken by a co-worker. A photo of her and Patricia at Diane's 1-year surgery anniversary. A picture Maya sent of herself in her nursing school scrubs. Evidence of a life being lived, not just endured. Patricia still visits once a week, though Diane no longer needs daily care. Their relationship has shifted from caregiver-patient to something closer to friendship. Patricia is blunt, doesn't tolerate self-pity, and calls Diane out when she's sliding into old patterns. You're catastrophizing again, Patricia said last week when Diane was spiraling about a conflict with a co-worker. I know, Diane admitted. I'm working on it. Good. Work faster. The physical challenges remain significant. Diane needs a knee replacement eventually. The years of extreme weight damaged her joints beyond what weight loss can repair. She has chronic pain, takes medication daily, sees a physical therapist twice a month to maintain mobility. The excess skin causes infections, requires careful management, and will eventually need surgical removal that insurance won't cover. She's not fixed, she's not cured, she's managing. Dr. Rashid sees her every 3 months for follow-up. At her last appointment, he reviewed her labs, her weight trajectory, her commitment to the post-surgical lifestyle. You're one of my success stories, he told her. Diane laughed, a sound that still surprises her when it emerges. I'm 312 pounds. How is that success? Because you're alive, you're mobile, you're working, you're not using food to cope. By every measure that matters, you're succeeding. She's learned that success isn't a number on a scale. It's getting on a bus independently. It's working a part-time job. It's answering her daughter's phone calls without manipulating or guilt-tripping. It's feeling rage and sitting with it instead of eating through it. It's accepting that some days are harder than others, and that's okay. The hardest thing Diane has learned is that she's not special. Her story isn't unique. Thousands of people struggle with extreme obesity, with trauma manifested as weight, with the crushing battle between wanting to live and not knowing how. Some make it, many don't. The difference isn't willpower or character. It's access to treatment, timing, support systems, and sometimes just luck. Diane got a second chance. She's trying to honor it by showing up every day, even when showing up is hard. Standing at the bus stop, waiting to go scan groceries for 4 hours, Diane catches her reflection in the store window across the street. She sees a woman who's still obese, still struggling, still carrying visible evidence of decades of pain. But she also sees a woman who's standing, who's breathing without strain, who's living instead of dying slowly in a converted living room. The weight loss isn't a fairy tale ending. It's a daily choice to live differently, with all its difficulty and fragility. Some days Diane makes that choice easily. Other days it takes everything she has. Today, she chooses it. Tomorrow, she'll choose again. The bus pulls away from the curb, carrying Diane toward a future that's uncertain but finally miraculously possible. If this story moved you, Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life journeys of struggle, choices, and transformation, so you don't miss the next episodes and follow each step of these powerful life stories. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.